Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. It's been a few weeks since we last posted right after the national championship game, but now we're going to start posting more videos, and we're going to start by answering your questions from the Q&A that I asked you to do from the last video. And a lot of you guys left some very good questions, some very good things to discuss, and some of these things we won't even know about until we start doing preseason predictions in the summer. We're going to kind of answer all these questions to the best of our ability, and then be on the lookout for more videos in the upcoming weeks. We're going to try to get enough going up until around June. We finally start picking up multiple videos a day for our preseason predictions. So we'll go ahead and start up here with one of the first questions I saw from Emperor of Rome and Barson 188. Both of you asked who my favorite team was. And Emperor of Rome actually asked what my favorite team was from the college and the NFL. And here's the thing. I like to keep it, kind of like to keep y'all guessing. I think it's going to be best if I don't share who my favorite team is right now. Kind of keep y'all trying to figure out who it is. One thing I will say, though, is a lot of people in my videos say that I'm a Bama homer or a Georgia hater, Tennessee hater, Michigan hater, anybody like that. And I can promise you that in these videos, there is no biasness towards a certain team, or if I have bad feelings or good feelings for a certain team, that does not affect the way I predict or analyze a team in our videos. So, you know, like I said, I've missed plenty of teams this season already. Did very well on a couple teams this season as well, but I don't base my predictions or base my analysis off of if I like a team or I dislike a team. So I can guarantee you that. But I'm not going to share who my favorite team is right now. I can promise you that they were in the South. They're nowhere far west, so probably nowhere west of Texas, but they are in the South. I will just give you that little hint right there. But I'm going to keep that a little secret for now. Mitch Thayer asked, will Ohio State be good without JT Barrett? And that's a good question, and something that I think Ohio State fans are probably wondering themselves going into the season. But here's the thing. We know that Urban Meyer knows how to coach quarterbacks. We've seen him do it multiple times. Did it at Utah with Alex Smith. Did it at Florida with Tim Tebow. Now he's at Ohio State. He's done a great job with JT Barrett. And even when he went down, did a great job with Cardale Jones, winning the national championship with him. So we know what they're capable of, what Urban Meyer's capable of. And I think the general consensus from my eyes is that the quarterback going into this 2018 season is going to be Dwayne Haskins for Ohio State. We saw him a little bit this season when Barrett went down with an injury against Michigan, and he actually played pretty well. He was able to get the win for Ohio State, which kept their playoff hopes alive. Of course, JT Barrett came back and won the Big Ten championship against Wisconsin, but probably the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in Ohio State history, setting all these school records, Big Ten records. Very illustrious career for him. It's going to be sad to see him go because he was so fun to watch. And it's a different style of play. If Haskins is indeed the quarterback, he's more of a pocket passer, good arm. He's fairly accurate. If you look at his stats from the season, which aren't, anything spectacular because he didn't play a whole lot, he's actually been fairly accurate. It's a different style of play from what JT Barrett did, where he could run and throw, more of a dual threat quarterback. Now, keep in mind that Ohio State does have Tate Martell and Joe Burrow both sitting on the bench, and that's going to be their quarterback battle between Haskins, Martell, and Burrow. And Burrow and Martell, I think, are both a little more dual threat than Haskins is. So the question is going to be who gets put in. Are they going to try to stick to what the JT Barrett style offense was and give the starting job to Tate Martell or Joe Burrow, or are they going to try to switch things up a little bit and give it to Dwayne Haskins? Nonetheless, they still have great running backs too. J.K. Dobbins is returning, so is Mike Weber. So you're going to have some good offense for Ohio State. We know that Urban Meyer knows how to coach his team defensively. Ohio State has usually been fairly good for the most part. I'm not really too worried about that. Plenty of returning starters on both sides of the ball. Ohio State is going to be just fine. Should be competing for another college football playoff spot, and definitely remains a major threat in the Big Ten. And Varson 188 asked if there should be a Power 6 conference. You have Power 5 right now. Should there be the Power 6 conferences? And that's another point of discussion. A lot of people have brought up over the course of these past couple of years, especially since the college football playoff began many years ago, back in 2014. I do not think there should be a Power 6 conference, and I don't think there will be a Power 6 conference anytime soon. I think before we get a Power 6 conference, there's going to be more conference realignments. We saw A&M Missouri being added to the SEC. We've seen some teams switch from the Group of 5 to the Power 5. We've seen some Power 5 teams move from a conference to another conference. I think the Big 12 could eventually either disintegrate, and all those teams will move to a different conference, or they might add some teams to the conference. They've already done that. But there was the talk of adding some more just this past year, and I think that will happen eventually. Now, of course, the problem is with a lot of these schools, they all have TV deals. The conference has TV deals with different stations, ESPN, ABC, CBS, all that. So, there's all these contract negotiations that have to go down for a team to switch. But I don't think there's going to be a Power 6 conference. we've seen these great group of 5 schools play very well. You look at UCF in 2014 beating Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl, and UCF this year going undefeated and upsetting Auburn in the Peach Bowl. And then also you had Houston just a couple years back beating Florida State in the Peach Bowl. So we've seen solid group of 5 schools play very well against Power 5 opponents. But how often does that happen? You have a couple great teams here and there. UCF, Louisville was good before they moved to the ACC. You had West Virginia even before they moved into the Big 12 playing some very solid ball. Houston as well, but they're not perennially always good. Every year you have that one good team that plays in the New Year's Six Bowl, but how often are they going to win? Western Michigan from last year would be a good example as well. So I don't think there's going to be a Power 6 conference. I think there'll be more conference realignments, potentially even one of those mega conferences or super conferences. We have 16 to 18 teams in the conference before we just develop a whole new power conference. And then the major question is, a lot of people are referring to the American Athletic as that Power 6, as that extra power conference. Do they do that, or do they pull in multiple teams from the group of 5 that have had great success in the years? You pull in a Houston, a South Florida, from the MAC, Toledo, Western Michigan, Sunbelt even, Appalachian State and Arkansas State have both been fairly well in their respective conferences. All of these conferences are making adjustments as they need to, and I think more teams will eventually work their way up the ladder. I think some Sunbelt teams like Arkansas State and Appalachian could end up moving into like the Conference USA or something like that, but I do not see another power conference forming anytime soon. Then, VIN asked, what was my favorite game to watch this year that does not include the college football playoff games? And I was thinking about doing a video later on in the year, maybe right before the season starts or something, kind of breaking down the best game week by week. Week 1, the best game was this. Week 2, and this is actually all going to be objective in my opinion. But I'm going to give you 2 games that I really, really enjoyed watching this year, going all the way back to week 1, UCLA and Texas A&M. Now, that was a heck of a game. You've got UCLA trailing at home by 34 points in the third quarter. 34 points. They fought all the way back to win that game 45 to 44. That's a heck of a game. It was fun to watch. I love shootouts. I love offense. When I checked the score, I wasn't in front of the TV at the time, but I was able to watch the entire second half. Thought the game was over. Thought Texas A&M had it done. But UCLA made a heck of a comeback and a great start to the season. And what turned out to be fairly disappointing for them, but still a heck of a start and a game that will go down in history. It's probably one of the greatest comebacks in college football history. And then another game that I really enjoyed watching was Penn State and Iowa. Still early on in the season, but Penn State winning that game on the final play of the game. Trace McSorley leading the game-winning drive with about a little under 2 minutes left, and final play of the game, getting a game-winning touchdown pass. That was very exciting. We all know Iowa's a very, very tough place to play, so we had Penn State on upset alert, and that would have been one of our first major upsets going into the college football season. That was still before October, so that was a heck of a game, a 21-19 Penn State victory. They kept their college football playoff hopes alive, but of course they ended up diminishing later on in October. Varson 188 again says, do I think that UCF will be in the top 4 next season? And that is another great question. Kind of ties in, do we think there should be a Power 6 conference? You got to look. American Athletic was pretty good this year. You had some very solid teams. SMU rising up a little bit, doing a little bit better before Chad Morris left to take the Arkansas job. South Florida, Memphis, Navy's always usually a contender, no team to sleep on, and of course UCF this year. Here's the thing. UCF gets Josh Heupel in, the offensive coordinator from Missouri. We saw what he did with Drew Lock, great offensive coordinator, and now he's getting Mackenzie Milton, who's returning for another year. And after his stats this year, I expect his stats to even be better next year, this coming year, 2018. So having one of the best quarterbacks in the American Athletic Conference is definitely going to help Central Florida. They do lose 5 all-conference players. I believe 2 on the offensive side of the ball and 3 on the defensive side of the ball, but they do have 10 more coming in, and they have the best recruiting class in the American Athletic Conference. Now here's the thing, for a team in the group of 5 to make the college football playoff, as we've seen since it began in 2014, you've got to go undefeated. And UCF did this last year, just did this past year, and a lot of people thought that they should have deserved a spot in the top 4. But it all comes down to who they have on their schedule. And their non-conference opponents this year, they have South Carolina State, but besides that, they have at North Carolina, Florida Atlantic, and Pittsburgh. So solid teams, but not great. You go back and look at Houston from 2016. Excuse me. They defeated Florida State to close out the season, and then beat Oklahoma in the season opener. And that really kickstarted their season. They jumped from 15th to 6th. And if they had gone undefeated, I have no doubt in my mind they would have made the college football playoff, because late in the season they had a game against number 3 Louisville, who they ended up beating, but by that point Houston had already lost once or twice, and that didn't matter. So for a group of 5 team, they have to go undefeated, and UCF can definitely run the table this year, but it also depends on where they're going to start in the rankings. In the AP poll to start, where will they begin? Houston started at 15th last year. In 2016, had a major win to catapult them into the top 10 and stay in contention for the playoff. Central Florida doesn't really have that major team they can beat this year. North Carolina was really not that good this year. Neither was Pittsburgh, Florida Atlantic, and Lane Kiffin. That dynamic offense, that will be a good win, especially with that being at home. But, there's no major, I don't see any of these teams being ranked besides Central Florida to start the season. So they're going to be beating up on teams that are ranked less than them. And it's going to be tough to do. It's going to be very tough to do. But I do expect Central Florida to have another great year. And, of course, the American Athletic competition is still pretty stiff. South Florida, Memphis, SMU, Navy. So if they run the table, American Athletic beating up on some decent teams there, win these 3 non-conference games, there is the case to be made for Central Florida to be in the college football playoff. I just think it's going to be very hard to do. And then Mitch there, the final question is, will Iowa State make it to a bowl game? Obviously, I'm not going to predict their record now, but just from general consensus, after looking at who they have coming back from a team that won the Liberty Bowl this year, a heck of a year for the Cyclones, I would say yes. I do see Iowa State making it to back-to-back bowl games. A lot of questions surrounding the quarterback position, Zeb Nolan or Kyle Kempt at quarterback, something to keep an eye on there. David Montgomery returns at running back, and on defense, they only have 4 underclassmen, all are sophomores. So, after a very great year this year, I do expect Iowa State to have a successful year next year in the Big 12. Should make another bowl game. I'm very excited to watch that and see how they do. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And, of course, that prediction will come later on the summer for an actual game-by-game prediction, final record prediction. All very good questions. Thank you all for leaving those. We can keep doing this. If you guys want to keep commenting questions, we might do this every month or so leading up until our preseason predictions. Keep your eye out, though, over the next couple of weeks. We're going to have coaching changes videos. We're going to have a video for recruiting. We might do a best games of the year video. And any other ideas you guys might have, please leave them in the comments below, because we will do it all the way up until June for our preseason predictions. Keep your eye out. We might even have a Super Bowl prediction out there. So make sure to keep commenting, liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.